I'm Tom McMillan. Join me as I interview professional sports people on their journeys making it pro. I'm on a mission to explore the mental strength and dedication required to make it in professional sport. If you like what I'm doing, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Hope you enjoy the episode. All right, here we go. So I'll start. So first of all, what's your earliest football memory, Henrik, from, the youngest age, the first time you ever felt you remember you kicking a ball?
Me kicking the ball. I think I was around 6 or 7. I think that was my earliest time. I remember I had a ball in my hands.
Yeah. And have you any, when you started to play football, started even just at that early stage, is there any stick out memories that, did you feel a love for it immediately, or did it progressively sort of move into that?
I think I remember my first World Cup 1978 when I was 7 years old. Um, and I started watching football and with my parents and with my brothers. I watched that, and I remember a little bit about the finals again, Argentina against Holland,
Holland.
and it went to extra time. And me and my friend, I called him, and we went outside to play football.
Yeah.
And the game wasn't finished yet, but we went outside anyway. So
Yeah. That was the same for me, actually. Mario Kempes. I
yeah,
remember the first big pair of boots I ever wanted was Puma Kempes Star. They were I never got them, but they were the boots that everybody wanted.
yeah.
And I was the same. Remember going out trying to keep the ball up. Do you remember the Coca-Cola kid that was through that whole tournament? They had a kid keeping a ball up and all the adverts, and he had a Coca-Cola t-shirt on, and everybody was trying to keep a ball up like this little kid. It was phenomenal.
Thomas, you're a little bit older than me.
One year. And so as you started to progress, Henry, and sort of moved on, like what the sort of opportunity to play in a team, what was the early stage or age that happened for you?
I played with my amateur team in here in Sweden, Högaborg, when I was I think I was 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
There was on Saturdays we played games. That is the earliest memories I have. And then I played for that club until I was 2021.
And did you feel at that early stage when you started playing, the sort of organised structure of football at that age, did you feel part of something? Did you feel that involved? Or do you remember at that stage are you just turning up, I want to play?
It was just turning up and you wanted to play, but you have to be a member in the club.
Yeah.
But I always felt included in everything. They had a great youth organization. They had many teams, several teams in the same age group, and older kids and younger. So it was a big organization back then. So you always felt included. And it was also, which wasn't very normal back in the days in Sweden, was a lot of kids from different cultures in our club.
Yeah.
Which is more normal now than back then. So even though I was different, a little bit darker, curly hair, I never felt really out of place because there was not simply Swedish kids. There were kids from different nationalities there as well.
Yeah. And as that progressed, did you find, was there anybody at an early stage, like your parents or even a coach at that stage, started to influence your commitment to what you were doing, or were they able to keep it, in a fun level? I know that parents can get overly involved very early, but did you get good support at that stage
No,
to play?
yeah, I think I got good support from home. I remember I was talking to my dad that I wanted to join the club, and eventually he said yes, that's no problem. But he said as well, if you're going to start training, Henrik, is something you do when you have to train. It's not that you can select when you want to go and train. You have to commit, and if you commit to something, you do it.
Yeah.
And then I had several good coaches in the youth. One especially, Bengt Persson, who was, I would say, a great mentor for me, always there and always saw my talent, even though I was a lot smaller than the other kids. He always talked to me when I felt a little bit down and when things weren't going the way I wanted. So he always kept an eye out for me.
Yeah. And that's crucial as well. I mean, getting an enthusiastic approach from someone rather than a pressured approach, especially at a young age, which at the minute they're showing quite a few TV documentaries on, kids at Crystal Palace. There's, I think Tottenham have done, but there's different ones. And one of the things that screams out to me as a parent is you just see the immense pressure being put on kids at such a young age, and it definitely doesn't help. I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. And I never got any pressure from home. It was purely my interest, what I wanted to do, and I wanted to play football. And I remember from an early age when I started the first class in school, and yeah, you always have the teachers ask, "What do you want to do when you are an adult?" And yeah, a lot of the people in the class said doctor, police, and blah blah blah. And I said, I want to become a professional football player. And
What age
and
was
the
that,
and
Henrik?
when do you start school? 6, 7, something like that in
Yeah.
Sweden. And never forget this because the teacher said, "Well, Henrik, you can't earn your living on that."
I wonder how many teachers have had to swallow those words over the years.
Yeah, there's quite a few actually.
Yeah. I remember Robbie Williams doing a bit of that actually. He sang a song, he was on like Graham Norton or something, and at the end of it, he said, Mr. So and so, whatever the teacher was, that was for you. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And so then, you're saying at that age that was already your ambition. Did you just completely fall in love with football at such a young age?
Yeah, and I didn't really know what the meaning of the word professional football player was, but that was my dream. I
Yeah.
wanted to uh, play abroad. I wasn't even thinking about the Swedish league, but that's obviously a step you have to take in order to become a professional.
Yeah. It's funny, a memory's just coming out of my head, and again, I don't know if you'll remember it specifically. I've rammed it into my own son Maddox. I mean, probably since it happened. We were over visiting you and went to see when you went back to Helsingborg at the end, and obviously, I've learned a bit of Spanish here, but Swedish, even with you guys over the years, I never really got to understand. But I knew when you were angry, and there was a few lads obviously messing about training, and you tore into them. It was three young lads, and you really kind of ripped into them. I don't know if you remember, you were injured, and you
I
went.
forgot that.
So you went. I remember saying to you, you'd done something to your hamstring, and you were doing lunges at training. And I said to you, "What are you doing?" You were saying, "I'm a thoroughbred. I'm training," But that was always your way. As soon as you were injured, that I knew of in the time that I knew you, you'd be straight back. And I said to you in the car on the way back, what was that? I could see you were upset, and you said there's a whole world out there, and they think this is it. This isn't, the end. This is the beginning. And I've said it to our Maddox a million times, because when you're in a small community, it's easy to feel like a superstar, and so then you shorten your ambitions. And I've only reason I've brought it up is because you've said at such a young age you'd already envisaged playing abroad, because obviously that's where you saw the bigger world of football, which is incredible at such a young age. And it's key, because if kids aren't shown, if they're not open to the idea of what is available, then their goals will never, their ambitions would always remain small. And I
Yeah,
thought it
but
was brilliant
it's
you said that.
also staying in your comfort zone. You
Yeah,
don't want to progress. You're happy where you are. You're happy, as you say, that you are a star in a smaller league, and you're maybe uncomfortable to pressure yourself and your body in order to see where you can finish, and
yeah,
you're happy instead, and that's limiting your own ambitions and possibilities for the future.
yeah. And so as that progressed, Henrik, I mean, was there a stage, even as you started maybe getting into 10, 11 or 12, was there a stage where you started to realise that maybe, you know, you had a talent that was beyond the average player? Did you start to realise that, you know, you might have something special
Not
within
at that
yourself?
age, no, because I was good, let's say, from I was 6 until 11, 12, and then the other kids started to grow. I
Yeah,
didn't grow. I was still short and didn't weigh that much. So that meant that I wasn't always playing in the first team.
yeah,
Uh, so I was very upset and sad about that. But the fortune with the club Högaborg, as I said before, was that they had like team A, B, and C.
yeah,
So that meant that I didn't play that very often for the A team,
yeah,
but I could play for B and C. So that meant that I still got games
yeah,
in the weeks. Obviously, I was upset and sad that I didn't play for the first team because that's what I wanted to do. But yeah, the other kids were so much taller and so much quicker and so much stronger than I was. I felt that I could do it, but the coaches didn't feel that I could do it. So I was a little bit upset of that. But I was can say today, if I wouldn't have gotten those games, it would have been easier for me to. I wouldn't say that I would have left football, but
yeah,
it could have been a chance that I would have left football.
yeah. And sort of, were you aware yourself, like you said there, Henrik, that you felt you were good enough? I mean, I seen it here. I seen it with Maddox. Maddox never grew. He was 13 or 14. All of a sudden, he's 6'1" now.
Hmm.
But that happened to him. And one of the things that was really interesting is they were playing seven-a-sides here as the modern way. And so in a seven-a-side pitch, it was irrelevant. He only had to run 20 yards and he was scoring.
Hmm.
When it went to 11-a-side, then he looked small.
Hmm.
And actually, I know that in some countries they're doing sevens, then nines, then 11s, but they don't do it here in Spain. And I think the nines helps accommodate that. Were you playing on full-size pitches at that age?
I think when you're 11 or 12, you start something. Started back then in Sweden. I can't remember. That's too many years ago.
Yeah. Because I think that's crucial. You know, like your height and your pace, when it's obviously a shorter distance, you can maybe get away with it, especially. I mean, obviously, I only know as an adult how prolific a goal scorer you were, and most people do, but you're going to get caught with probably defenders that aren't as good on 11-a-side pitch because you've got to run 30 or 40 yards with the ball, you know, or you've got to be moving 30 or 40 yards, whereas in a smaller pitch, you know, you can make a quick turn and you can steal a yard or 2 yards or 3 yards, but you can't steal 15. So,
Yeah, yeah, but the pitch is big when you're playing 11 aside. Yes, but it's gonna be once you go in there later as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
sooner rather than later, you have to get used to the distances.
yeah,
So I mean,
absolutely.
I don't know the answer to that question, to be
Yeah,
honest, because I think in the end you have to learn to play in the full size pitch.
yeah,
And the sooner you learn that, the better it is.
yeah. And I suppose it encourages you, enthuses you to get physically stronger and, you know,
You have
and
to be
remain
able
as
to
fit as
cover the
possible.
meters. You have to be able to run for the minutes and everything.
Yeah,
And yeah, you can slow down that progress, but is that the benefit for the players? I don't know.
yeah. And at that stage, Henrik, what position were you playing
I
through
was
those years?
playing midfielder, striker. I was playing
Yeah,
at that age, I would say.
yeah. So obviously in midfield, you've got a bit of running to do, and it's where it can often be extremely physical. So it matters obviously in size. And then, you know, as that progressed, obviously being at a club like Hoggerbogs, who are a recognised club, was the level of coaching throughout all that period of a high standard. Even if you were dropping into the other teams, did you feel, you know, the B team or the C team was the quality of coaching there that helped you develop, even although, you know, you may have felt disappointed not making the A team, but you said you're getting minutes, which I think is crucial. It doesn't matter where you are, you've got to play.
Yeah, if you don't play, you can't develop. Simple as that.
Yeah. And the
But I would
coaching,
say, I mean, the coaching, yeah, I mean, the first team, Yeah, was parents coaching. Were they good?
Yeah.
Well,
Same
depends
everywhere.
what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
In the second team, we had a fantastic coach who just said, "Go out and play and have fun, kids,"
Yeah.
and we did that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's for me that was good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to play, and we won a lot of games. I scored goals,
Yeah.
so I had fun. You
Yeah.
always have fun when you win.
Yeah, for sure. And for your confidence at a young age as well,
Yeah, they
it's really disappointment.
kept my head above the water because I
Yeah.
needed it. I
Yeah.
mean, I had like, I would say, 3, maybe 4 years where I didn't grew that much,
Yeah.
and then one summer I grew a little bit and got my speed back, and yeah, then I
Start
could
moving on.
start having fun again.
And you said about obviously feeling sad or feeling disappointed at stage. I mean, did you get, obviously you would from your parents, but did you feel the need for any support there? Did you try and just deal with it yourself? Did you keep it within
I
yourself?
had to deal with it myself. I mean, my father was there watching the games, but he always stayed in a corner. My
Yeah.
mother wasn't allowed to come up to the games even back then because she came once and I got kicked and I heard her screaming and it was so embarrassing. So I said, "You never coming to my games again, mom."
I did the same. I got elbowed in the
Yeah,
face when I was 12. My nose was
yeah,
bleeding. My mum came on to try and wipe it. And I think I
yeah,
swore at her for the first time in my life.
yeah.
So yeah, I
No,
agree
so I
with that.
had to deal with it myself, and maybe that's not the right way, but sometimes you have to be able to deal with things yourself as well, and then it's always good to have somebody to talk with, if that's your friend or somebody other, or I mean some adult or whatever. But
Yeah,
it's nice to say something. But I remember I never talked that much about it. I just
dealt
kept
with
my
it.
head down and keep on working, and I was sad, and yeah, but didn't talk to people about that.
And then as you did start to grow and it progressed, what came next? You're going through 13, 14 to 16. Then is that when you did feel you started to make sizable
Yeah,
progress?
when I was 15, 16, that's where when I was true. I was still skinny, but I was quick and I was strong in my body.
Yeah.
I wasn't weighing that much. I think I was about 67, 69 kilos. But I was always strong in my body,
Yeah.
even as a young kid. That's when I for the yeah I got to train with yeah when I was 16. Yeah, 16 or 17 actually. I got to train a little bit one summer with the first team, and yeah, it went well.
And making that step up, how did you feel like again straight away? That's the first probably big no obstacle, but it's the big opportunity. Did you feel any pressure, or did you were you aware of the sense of the challenge, or did you just so desperately wanted to do it?
I didn't feel any pressure. I was just happy that in the practice, the first practice I did with the first team, I not made one guy 3 times during the practice, and
Yeah,
then I just felt, yeah,
I can handle this.
yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no problem.
And did that then lead to you training on a more regular basis? Did that put you in the frame at the first team?
I that was in the third division in Sweden at that time. So it was the third highest division in Sweden.
Yeah,
Um, I played. I have to think now because that's so many years ago. I mean, the first season I did, from the first season I did with the first team, that was 88 or 89. I can't remember. Uh, I played regularly, but I
yeah,
played on the left wing as a left midfield player
yeah,
because the coach told me he wanted me to understand and do the meters what it takes to play in the first team, and I think that he didn't really believe that I could be a striker.
Yeah.
But then the last 2 years I played as a striker and scored a few goals and started making interest from other clubs.
Brilliant. And so then from that stage, Henrik, you'd signed a professional contract. I mean, obviously because
No.
you were within the same club, so you were still just
Yeah, but there was
a player.
no payment, whatsoever. It was about that you could get some money for one pair of shoes,
Yeah.
which was about, let's say in today's money, about 150 euro, one pair of boots.
Yeah.
That's what you got. You didn't
Yeah.
get paid for anything.
And everybody was the same at your sort of age level.
When we were at the first team,
Yeah.
no, there were some players I think made some money, but I didn't make any money.
No, but I mean at that age for you, like other players, you know, I mean the guys that you came through with at Hoggeborgs at that stage.
Oh yeah, there was nobody earning money.
Yeah.
Not only if you were the first team and maybe a ex good player, you can earn some money.
I'd draw back. And so at what stage then did you get your first professional contract offered to you?
Yeah, I left for Helsingborg in 1991, I think, something like that.
So you'd be 20.
Yeah, 2021, I went for them, and I had a contract per month for, without the bonuses, I would say around 350 euro.
Yeah, I'm on.
And then you had bonuses of winning.
Goals.
No, winning games away from home and winning games home.
Yeah.
And I worked on the side.
Yeah. And did you feel then that your dream was starting to come true, or were you just engrossed in the work?
No, when I got the move to Helsingborg, I felt that I have a chance.
Yeah.
And I scored like 35 goals the first year in the second highest division. And then in the highest division, I scored my first year 16 goals.
Yeah.
And then I left for Feyenoord.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once I started scoring goals in the second highest division, there was some attention for me. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
I need to put my phone on charge. Hang on.
No worries. I remember you said to me at the time, because obviously you talk about your height and you know, I mean, you were always physically strong the whole time I've known you, and obviously, you know, you'd learned how to handle it and how to deal with it, but you were never, you know, you were always the kind of frame that you are. But everybody's commented for years, and obviously we don't need to go back to the memory against Porto, just how well you head a ball. But I remember you saying at that time you worked with a striker, which I believe was at Helsingborg, who really helped you sort of improve on your aerial work and being able to head a ball so well. It's great when obviously other players, and not just maybe coaches or people around the game, but actually other players are helping you, you know, strengthen aspects of your game. Did that really have a big impact on you, Henrik?
Yeah, but I always loved to head the ball, and I was always fairly good at it. I always had good timing ever since I was, very young.
Yeah.
So you either love heading the ball or you don't.
Yeah.
And I always loved heading the ball, and that's why I was good in the air, because I was never afraid of heading the ball in the wrong way, because then it hurts.
Yeah.
So for me, it was always good timing in it, and obviously a good leap.
Yeah.
Without that, it's very difficult. So, and the striker, Mats Magnusson, he helped me a lot with finishing, because I saw him how he finished, and he always used to challenge me after the practices in scoring goals. And obviously, I lost most of the times, but I learned a lot.
Yeah.
How to hit the ball and with the inside foot, when to hit it hard, and when just to move your wrist a little, or your instep
Yeah.
in small directions. And yeah, and I also learned how he headed the ball once he needed to put the extra pace on the ball, or when he just kept his head still when there was enough pace on the ball,
Yeah.
and things like that. So it was great for me to learn all those things from him.
And then obviously came the move to Feyenoord. So, I mean, that Feyenoord are obviously, I mean, the world renowned. It's the first major step. Um, from a personal point of view, did that feel? Because a lot of people, this is where it starts to get. How do you handle the pressure? You know, the personal responsibility of taking that step up. You've also, I don't know if at that time, but I know myself over the years, once you start having kids or you've got a partner and there's financial responsibilities, then you can't help but feel, the sort of success is going to make sure your life will unfold. But how did you feel going to Feyenoord? How did that move feel?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any financial responsibilities, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was me and Magdalena, so my salary wasn't the greatest when I came to Holland, but
Yeah.
it was my dream, a chance to go abroad and be a professional football player.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was all I dreamt of the time. And at that time was before the Bosman ruling. So you have to understand that the teams were only allowed 3 foreign players
Yeah.
in the squad. So it wasn't easy to get outside of Sweden,
Yeah.
because in order to be able to do that, you have to have a talent.
Yeah.
And then it's one thing having the talent, and then it's another thing, uh, how bad do you want it? Because you have to work. You can't only live on your talent. You have to work. You have to train hard, and you have to prepare yourself in the best possible way. I didn't know what it meant to be a professional football player until before I came to Holland.
Yeah.
It was different culture. It's a different language. You have to adapt to the culture. You have to adapt to the language, and that's all those things. What it means to be a professional football player. Not only what you do on the pitch. It's
Yeah.
how you live around it and what you do in order to blend into society, I think.
Yeah. And the style of play when you went to Feyenoord, Henrik, was that a big change from how it'd been in Sweden? Did you have to adapt quickly?
Yeah, it was a big difference. That's why it took me a lot of time as well in order to learn it. I mean, they play 4-3-3 in Holland, more or less
Yeah.
all the teams. In Sweden, we played a 4-4-2,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I was a striker that liked to move a lot
Yeah.
already back then in a lot of areas, and not only like when I was playing a 9 in a 4-3-3, I was only more or less in behind, yes, but not wider than the penalty box,
Yeah.
because that was for the wingers.
Yeah.
And then I played on the sides. I played left, right, and 9, and I also played a 10, and I played in midfield. The coaches I had there appreciated me because they did a great job,
Yeah.
but I didn't score enough goals.
Yeah.
That simple as that, and that meant that I didn't always play. But that's also something you have to learn how to handle when you're a professional football player.
How did you find handling that? I mean, obviously, like you say, that's your dream starting to materialize, and then maybe not playing or not playing as often as you want to. And again, over the period of time I've known you, I know how hard working you always were and how dedicated you always were in the disciplines like that, drinking, your consumption of water and your own, before nutritionists were anything like what they are now. You had that personal discipline, and obviously so did Magdalena, which helps because you've got a partner that feels the same way. But when you were getting the opportunity, or maybe opportunities missed or not playing, did you feel down? Was there any times where you felt
I
stressed or
felt
unhappy
down.
with
I
it?
felt down because I thought now it's happening again. Because
Yeah,
what happened to me earlier,
yeah,
now it starts happening again, and I wasn't happy about that. And I played. Uh, I don't remember how many games I played for Feyenoord, but I played a lot of games.
yeah,
But I didn't play for 90 minutes all
yeah,
the games. I either played from the start or I got subbed in.
yeah.
And as a football player, me personally, I was only happy when I played.
Played.
Yeah, when I didn't play, I wasn't happy.
Yeah,
And back then, uh, it was a little bit more difficult because if I didn't play on the Saturday or the Sunday, it would means I was so sulking, how you say it in
yeah,
English.
still. Yeah,
So yeah, in like 2-3 days,
yeah.
and but you're still training and you're not really focused and prepared because you need to be switched on.
There's got to be something to be motivated for at the end of a training week. And if you're training all week and there's no game, then it's just a repetition of for nothing. I mean,
Yeah,
not
I
training
mean
for
1 or 2
nothing, but it's
weeks is
easy to feel
okay,
that.
but then you start because your patience isn't that great, and you always think that you're good enough to play, and
Yeah.
should be like that. But sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture.
And even when you take through that period, Henrik, I've checked, you played over 100, I think it was 103, you played over 100 games for Feyenoord and you scored 1 in 4 on average. It's still not, I know that by your ratios, it might not be the highest, but it's still not a bad ratio, especially if you take the times in midfield or on the wing as opposed to playing
And the
behind
minutes I
the
got,
line.
so yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, no, but it's just the feeling. I mean, I know I learned a lot when I played in Holland for
yeah,
Feyenoord. I know that once I came to Barcelona, really,
yeah,
but that wasn't to any help for me back then, and
yeah.
I just had to deal with it. Yeah, I talked a lot with my wife Magdalena, but mainly I was just keeping my head down and training hard and proving them wrong.
Yeah. And then obviously came the move to Celtic,
Yeah,
where I think the spirit of obviously Celtic, which is easy for me to say and to say it to you, but the spirit of Celtic obviously has got a special bond, as a lot of clubs in Scotland have. But for the people that are there, and I know a lot of the Rangers players that that have went there have felt the same way there. But did you feel very quickly that a different feeling of appreciation or maybe opportunity from when you'd left Feyenoord and going there? Did you feel this is a real open door?
no, to be honest, I said before in other interviews, I didn't know that much about Celtic, to be honest.
Yeah,
When I went there,
yeah,
the reason why I went there was because Wim Jansen was there, because he
yeah,
knew the contract situation for me. So I had an option to go back home to Sweden, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to give the people that doubted me when I went abroad from Sweden, that give them right in the way that I was coming back home again.
yeah.
So when he wanted me, because he was one of the guys who brought me down to Holland, I thought, well, I will give it a shot and see how it goes. And yeah, the rest is history.
How did you feel there, Henry, when you went? Your style of playing. Obviously, Celtic have always been known historically for playing an attacking style of football. Did you feel early on that suited you? That this was going to be a style of playing a club that would suit the way you wanted to play the game?
Yeah, I liked the physical style back then in the Scottish League
Yeah,
because you were allowed to tackle, not from behind, but you were allowed to tackle. It was a physical game. Was not a lot of diving.
yeah,
Was honest, physical, but fair game.
yeah,
And I just wanted to make the most out of it when I went to Scotland. It didn't start that well against Hibs, but after that it went quite all right.
yeah. I know that was good. That was always the Chick Charnley moment. But and then is it because obviously when you look at that time, it's easy to look now and see special, through the Martin O'Neill era, and obviously how successful Celtic have been the last 20 years, say, but when you went there, it was tough times, and obviously Wim Jansen had a massive impact on Scottish football, and particularly for Celtic and stopping Rangers win 10 in a row, and you being part of that. The emotion through that, and a lot of the guys, it was a great mix because you had a lot of players who were homegrown and still understood what it meant to Celtic for the fans and for the club, and also there was that combination of players coming into the game and into Scotland that could help maybe, change the style of play or improve the style of play. And then it moved on, obviously, after Vim, which I always felt personally I thought it was very short-changed, in my own opinion. He should have got, certainly earned the right to get longer there. But and then it went into the Martinelli era and some of the players that came in. Was that just again, I'm looking at, when you look at some young players getting in and saying, oh God, now, like Chris gets signed and there was big money being talked, Paul Lambert came having won the Champions League. Did you feel then I'm going to be part of something, we're going to build something definitive here?
No, I didn't. I mean, I was always worried of not playing. So when Chris came, John came, when another striker signed, I was always worried not to play, even though I scored a lot of goals, because that meant that you had competition. But competition is good if you handle it the right way.
And there seemed to be a good relationship with the three of you, and there was obviously certain games a different combination would suit. I mean, my recollection that you were always sort of part of one or other combination because you were regarded as a talisman. You could always score goals. You could score goals at difficult away grounds, and you could score goals at Celtic Park. So that was. Did you feel that? Did you always feel going on the pitch, wherever it was and whoever you were facing, I can score goals here? Did you feel going onto the pitch that? You would never, like, obviously as it stepped up in the challenges of Champions League, did you ever go and you're facing Juventus and think, God, this is going to be a real test? Did you always have the mental strength to feel I can score goals here?
I always felt that I could score goals whenever I came on any park. But obviously when you're playing against Juventus away, you play Ajax away, you always know it's going to be difficult because there's a lot of talent on the other side of the pitch as well. Yeah. But as you said, under O'Neill, we had so many international players from, I think, 11 or 12, 13 different countries that were very good with the national teams that were able and capable of playing against Ajax away, Juventus away. So we had respect for the guys, but we never feared them.
Yeah. Did you ever feel, Henrik, at these stages as it kept stepping up, and obviously, there was so many great European nights at Celtic Park that was fortunate enough to be there, and so many away actually that was really special moments. But your personal approach as a player and as an individual, as a human being, would there be times in maybe a certain game or approaching a certain game, that obviously playing against Barcelona is a tremendous success? Did you ever feel, will you ever feel yourself that you were aware of at any time, players would doubt themselves or think, oh God, is this a step too far? Or did you ever reflect on how far your career had come? And did you just keep progressing?
Yes, kept on going. I never lived in the past, and that's a shame that I didn't enjoy the games and the results in a better way, maybe. But for me, it was just in order to be able to progress and stay above. I needed to stay in my bubble. I needed to, be happy that I scored a goal, boom. But now it's the next game. It was always the next game. It was never a question of just enjoying the games for days. No, it was, you enjoy it after the game, a few hours, and then it's relax, have a drink, do something, and then it's the next game. It was always preparing for the next game, which was for me necessary to be able to perform the way I did.
Yeah, that's crucial. And obviously, there was this treacherous night in Lyon where you get such a horrendous injury, and a lot of people certainly around the game, I remember again debating it with you. There was a certain commentator was saying when you first came back, I remember the following season, in the very early stages of the following season, that ended up being the season that you won the European Golden Boot. And I remember one of the commentators saying, I think it was like Hibs away and it was a wet Wednesday night and it was a really tough pitch. And they're saying, and his comment was, it's fair to say Henrik Larsson will never be the player he once was. And I remember saying to you at the end of the season, can you phone him or will I? It was, I don't know if you remember my dad holding your Golden Boot, and it's a special wee moment. But for you, when that injury came, Henrik, did that raise doubts, or how did you feel?
Doubts? No. I remember myself sitting on the pitch in Lyon and counting the month that I had to be able to play in the Euros for Sweden.
Right there and then.
Right there and then, yes.
That's phenomenal. And that, from that step, was your mind completely on the rehabilitation and the time it was going to take?
Yes.
Yeah.
Only doing the work together with Scotty and the other physios at Celtic at the time. Just working on my own, just keeping my head down and doing everything in my powers to heal as quick as possible.
Yeah. How long? Because I think you came on, I think it was against Dundee United at Celtic Park, the last game of the season, Henrik. So that same season you were back. How many months were you actually out from start to finish?
5.5 months.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
People, when they reflect on how bad that injury was, would never believe that. It was incredible you did it in such a short space of time. And when you came back the following season, you felt, obviously you did go to the Euros, and then
I went to the Euros. We didn't do a great tournament for Sweden, but I scored a goal against Italy the last game. So I felt if I can score on that level, that means that I can score in Scotland as well. And then I score in the first game against Dundee United away.
Yeah.
And I felt, I'm back. Yeah.
Okay. And then is that, obviously the next sort of big stage was you had the great years and obviously got the opportunity to play in it. I'm not going to put you through the disappointment of the Seville. Obviously, to score 2 goals for anybody in a European final and no win is as tough an emotional stress as it's ever going to get. And I remember obviously what it meant to everybody and what it meant to the fans and what it meant to the club. For you personally to achieve that mantle to go and play in a European final and score, was there any joy to be had from it, or was it just the disappointment of the result?
There's still no enjoyment about it, and I still get the goosebumps that we lost that game. But shouldn't lose if you scored 2 goals in a final.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is. I can't change it now. I just have to learn how to live with it.
And then you went to the Euros after that, which was really successful in Portugal. Well, it was pretty successful, and you had I think, Pierre, I thought you had a good Euros there. But moving even on to that, like sort of European, national, and world stage, like when you played in America, how did you feel the difference in the game then, Henrik? And you went to playing at that. I mean, that doesn't get any higher as we approach another World Cup. And there's a lot of young players now that are ambition to go and play in it. Did you just approach these situations the same way as you had through each step of your career?
Yeah, I always try to stay in my bubble.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that word a lot, but it was necessary for me in order to be able to perform, that I didn't have any distractions on the side. I needed to be in my mindset. And in order to do that, I restricted myself a lot, but I think it was worth it. I didn't enjoy everything that I could have enjoyed, but at the end of the day, I think I made the right decision.
Yeah. You can see that in how focused you are as a person off the pitch, but obviously it's a great lesson for any young player because there's so many distractions now you know, sponsorships of clothes and other things that can start to, you know, sort of sidetrack what the goal at the outset was, which is to be a professional footballer.
It's a lot of distractions, and you have to learn how to handle them, and that's why you got your agent working for you.
Yeah, and then obviously
He has to earn his money.
For sure, and that's important. I mean, were you able? Did you feel quite comfortable? I mean, I know you're the same agent for a long time. Any responsibilities like that, did you just pass over and say I'm playing football?
Yeah, I said that about too much
Yeah.
because I didn't want to do anything. So I said, you have to talk to my agent.
Or Magdalena.
Yeah, but she's also my agent.
For sure. And then obviously came the move to Barcelona, which I would imagine is any young player and young kid's dream. How did that feel, sort of that moment coming?
Yeah, we just went out of Euros, so I wasn't that pleased, to be honest. But obviously, once I let go of that disappointment, I was very happy because it's always been one of my favorite teams. One of the first teams I saw playing on the television when I was a young kid.
Yeah.
So go there and play. Yeah, that meant that you have something special because not everybody is allowed to play for Barcelona.
No, for sure. Seen that last night watching them.
Yeah.
It's a it's a special club, and I think again when you see the way that they're, you know, completely enveloped with the fans, and it's a way of life for so many people in Barcelona. But obviously you'd experienced that at Celtic, and you mentioned earlier the style of play had such, obviously for the days of Cruyff, still had that and still has that Dutch influence through. So did that help you adapt when you went to Barcelona?
Yeah, I mean, obviously playing in Holland for 3.5 years, I think it was, playing in the system helped me a lot. And I was a lot older and much more mature, and yeah, had different belief in myself maybe than when I went to Holland the first time, and now went to Barcelona. And I had 7 great years at Celtic, so obviously I knew that I wouldn't play every game. I could live with that
Yeah.
in the beginning, but then uh, as the season progressed, I got more and more annoyed that I didn't play more. But I could take it because when it was the important games like Champions League, we played against Madrid, I was
Yeah.
always starting,
Yeah.
so I could take it. But obviously, I wanted to play more.
Did you feel that was a decision, Henrik, more because of the stage of your career, age-wise, that you were being sort of, you know, kept to your peak fitness for the crucial games?
I wasn't that old. I was 33 at the time, I think I was,
Yeah.
or turning 33. So I wasn't that old. But it's just a question of Rijkaard. He talked to me during the Euros. He said that he wanted me to come,
Yeah.
but he also wanted to let me know that I wouldn't play every game from the start. And I said, but if I do good, will I play then? Yes, of course, he said.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
different.
knew the situation before I came, and that's why I could live with that. But then things happened that I wasn't too pleased of. I was
Yeah.
promised to play a game, and in the morning of the game, I got told that I would not play. So that was a strike for me and other things. But now I'm older. I know the politics behind everything, so now I can understand it in a different way.
How did, in those kind of moments, Henrik, see when those moments would strike you, like in that particular case, would it still go back to the same emotion when you were maybe going through that 10, 11, 12 years old and I'm not playing because I'm not tall enough or I'm not quite, was it still the same sense of disappointment regardless of the height of the
No,
football team?
now it was more unfair.
Uh,
But I could handle it in a better way. Obviously, I had 2 kids at the time,
yeah,
and or even though football for me was the most important thing, it
yeah,
was, but the kids or especially Janelle, the youngest, she didn't think too much about football. Jordan was crazy about football already back then, but it helped me to see it from a different angle and don't
Perspective.
perspective, and don't be so angry about it and get on with it. But it
Yeah.
was annoying me for sure. That's why I had one more year at Barcelona, but I didn't want to spend that on the bench. So that's why I went home to play in Sweden.
And how did that feel, Henrik, the homecoming, going back to Helsingborg? I know that, again, because of the type of person you are and loyal to your word, that was something through, I don't know for how long of your career, but you'd said that you would go back there and you honoured it, even although I know Barcelona were keen to keep you and there was other clubs were keen to get you, but you'd always given your word you would go there and you stuck by it. Did it feel good going back?
Yeah, but it was purely a family decision. I wanted, Jordan was 10, not turning 10 at the time. And I wanted him especially to learn the Swedish properly and have a place where he could make his to know his friends, which I think is very important, and also for Janelle to grow up in Sweden in order to have something that they could call home.
Yeah. And then came the opportunity to go to Man United for that period, which
that short spell, yes.
But do you know what? Like Aidan, who's in the background, so many Manchester United fans that I know, and there's quite a few out here. As short as it was, you most certainly made an impact, and a lot of the fans, talk about the times there. Even the players, I remember Roy Keane, Scholes said, I knew what a great player he was. He said, but I didn't realise how good he was till I seen him in training, which is fair for any player. But to be regarded at that level, Henrik, with players that were, at the top, I mean, Scholes is as good a midfielder as ever has graced the game. Was there ever any, I know how humble you are, but was there ever any sort of point of realisation when you go back to sitting in that classroom saying, I'm going to make it as a professional player, I want to be a professional footballer? Was there ever that realisation? Do you reflect on your career like that and say, what you're aware of what you did, and how high and how great you achieved?
Yeah, nowadays I can do that when I'm over 50, but it's not something I've been doing during my years, so it's a tough ask to do. But obviously, I'm proud of everything that I achieved together with my teammates in every team I've been. But I mean, and now, whenever I see a big game on television, I know I've been there, I played on that stage. I'm very proud and pleased about that, and I'm happy. I don't think that I could have done anything more in my career than what I achieved, and I think that if I'm checking out tomorrow, I can be proud of my career.
Good, brilliant. And finally, for any young player coming through, and I know you've been through it with your own son, but for any young player coming through, making those steps, academy, and trying to make it in football, is there any advice that you would suggest or offer to them?
Yeah, the willpower has to come from within. Nobody else than yourself can make it.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And that's a great way to sum it up. And Henrik, obviously for me personally, it's been a pleasure to sit and do this interview with you, but it's great to catch up with you. And thanks very much for giving me your time.
The only reason why I'm doing this, Thomas, because it's you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That really means the world.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching the latest episode of Making It Pro. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Look forward to sharing the next episode soon.